to Spencer Specs tutorial videos. This next video will talk about the reflection area, this last section, as well as these three little buttons. Right. The first thing, we have already had experience to refreshing the weather, I would suspect. Up here you can see the last time that the weather was updated. If it was a little while ago, you want to update weather, or if this isn't showing up. Like sometimes when I open this in my laptop, the weather information doesn't come with it. The prior weather information that I ran gets cleared out, and so you might not see anything here. And if you want it, you click this refresh weather info, and it will go get the weather information for you. If you've done your handicapping outside of the specs, or using the specs but wrote it down on paper because you didn't have Microsoft Excel, you print it to PDF, you take it with you to the doctor, you're handicapping, and you want to just update the grids. You click on this Utilize ABC Grid for selection, and it will open up in a tab your current ABC selections, and if you want to go and change them, you can. If there are scratches, it will show you the scratches. So you may, it will already have adjusted for your scratches. The specs are smart enough to say, hey, the one horse scratch, let's say in the third race, if the one horse scratches, it's going to remove the one horse from your grid and move the three horse up. It won't do it in the field that you put the data entry in, but it will do it on all the tables and the calculations and the ticket making. It will move up your B to your A. And if there's no B, so if there's only one A and it scratches, it will pull the B up. If there's no B, or if your B also scratches, it will pull your C's up. If it doesn't have either one, it's going to tell you here needs selection. So that's kind of the nice thing. You have the ability to see that, hey, all of my horses scratched. It will show you who the scratches are, so you can use this grid to kind of cross them off your paper grid if you've done so. When you're done, if during the course of entering these in, you want to go back and look at something within the specs, but you've updated some of this stuff, make sure you click on the blue button, because that's how it gets updated. If not, when you click on Return to Main Menu, any changes you made will not be updated in the other side. So I'm just going to click on Return to Main Menu because I've already done this. This is what my handicapping selections were. Click on Return to Main Menu. It'll take me back. Now we want to move forward to the day's over. I want to now go and look and see how did I do, what were the scratches and results, was my handicapping okay, how did the specs do. I'm going to click on scratches and results. Up here was just scratches. Here's going to be scratches and results. Very similar. On the scratches side, you would want to load the Equibase changes. You click on this link, takes me to Equibase, and I'm going to go to Keeneland and say I want my Keeneland selections. Click off here on the side somewhere, hold the control button down, push A, right click, choose copy, and you paste that here. Paste special there. We're going to go to the results, click on this link, does the same thing for me, takes me to the results. I'm going to click on Keeneland because this is 9:45 p.m. Pacific time on the East Coast. This is already tomorrow, so today's been cleared out, or you'd see that Keeneland was today. You click on View All Races, and it will show me all races. I'm going to do the same thing. Hold the control, push A, right click, choose copy, take it back to the specs, right click, paste special. Now I'm good to go. I'm going to go to my results. When I click on this results button, it's going to go and it's going to pull in the information out of this file for the results and give me first through fourth and the $2 win payout for the winner. It's going to also run this query. It will run both the refresh results and refresh changes query. So when it's done, there's no need for you to come and push this button again if you have both of these fields already populated with the Equibase data. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to click this button, we'll put it on pause and come back to you in a second when it's done. Alright, as you'll see, actually when it's done, it brings you to this page. And this page shows you what all of the horses that you did not have as an A or B, what they look like, what symbols they had associated with them, and some of the other characteristics associated with each of those winners. So if you'd like to, and I do this frequently, is I'll copy this. It highlights the fields that you will need to copy. I will have copied the header row over at least one time. I will copy this, take it to a new document, or probably one that I've saved from prior days, and I paste values. Or you can right click and choose paste values. either one, so that I can save this, and then after a week or so come back and look and say, what did all these horses have that I missed? What should I be paying more close attention to in my handicapping? And I'll notice right away that here on this Keeneland card, these are both the same sets of data. I was just showing you two different ways to paste it. 3 of the 5 had jockeys that the horse had ran better for than anybody else, and significantly better by this little stick man with the plus sign next to it. You'll see in the symbols that that's what that means. That tells me that I may need to pay a little closer attention to that type of information. Anyway, so I'll go back to the specs. The other thing I want you to notice is that if the Equibase file did not have all the races, I'm going to take the 10th race out. It's going to tell you results do not contain results for every race. If there's a race in here that it does not have at least the top 4 finishers, it's going to tell you the results do not contain top 4 finishers for each race. Occasionally that'll be okay. You might have a 2 or 3 horse race, and you won't end up with 4. But for the most part, this is telling you that if you want the 4th horse, you're going to have to go get that one manually, because or wait. Sometimes it takes Equibase 20-30 minutes after the race is final to get the results updated through all the finishers, all the also-rans in order. Not a big deal though. So now you have your results, your scratches, all that's in there. Now I've got a full good body of horses that actually ran today. I'm going to click on this ideal bias routine, and this is going to run through an algorithm in the specs where it plugs in for early pays 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and so on up to 2.0. And it takes my early pace figures for the 3 methods that you will learn about at some point. There's 3 methods, the last 3, the top 3, and the top 3 within a furlong and a half at a day's distance on the same surface. Those are the 3 methods it looks for to try to calculate what to expect from each horse in today's race from a pace perspective. It will multiply the results of those races that it's using by this multiplier. So it'll multiply the early pace by the 0 and the late pace by 2. Early pace by 0.1, late pace by 1.9, and so on. It has to add up to 2. A perfectly fair track would be a 1-to-1. The multiplier would be 1 and 1 on both early and late. This is running through a routine to say, okay, what would have the ideal multiplier been for me to use today to get the most top-ranked winners? And if there's a tie there, for the lowest average ranking of the winners. And then if there's a tie there, it uses the one that's closest to fair, closest to 1-to-1. So if 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, all early pace scores were the ideal weighting, it's going to come back and tell you, the ideal weighting was this. The one closest, the 0.7 that's closest to 1-to-1 is the one we're going to use. So in this particular case, we have a 1.8 early pace on dirt sprints. That's pretty big. Pretty big variance. You could say that there was a bit of a bias today. Problem is I only had 2 races that he used in that calculation. I require it to use 3. If there's at least 3, it will give me a note that looks something like this one that I've got for Belmont today. Belmont had a closer bias on routing on the turf, where it had 3 races with enough experienced horses in them that I wanted to hang my hat and say, was there or was there not a bias today? There has to be at least 3. The variance has to be at least 0.5 or 1.5. In this case, it was 0. The best weighting today, Belmont on the turf routing, would have been ignoring early speed completely and weighing it solely on late pace in those methods. It will tell me that, and then I actually take this and copy it to a Google Keep note right here for my track biases that I want to add to my track bias listing, so that they'll show up later. I'll know that, today at Belmont turf route we had a closer bias. Today Laurel dirt route we had a speed bias. 1.6 was the best weighting. So that's what happens with the ideal. That's how I validate whether I saw a bias today or not. I can see that it might have been real. So in this particular case, electronically, if I'm just blindly not watching the races, I'm not going to log a bias. If I thought that there was a bias, this definitely did not disprove that bias theory. If I thought that there was a early or late bias turf routing today, this is telling me, nah, I don't think there was. I think that you're probably, imagining things. Okay, so now we're through these first two buttons. The third button here is to review your selections. So you click on this button, it's going to open that missed races log. If you missed it the first time through and you want to copy this over, you can look and see what the horses had that you missed. How much did they pay, all that fun stuff. You look at your cover and it's going to highlight blue where this is the specs proposed A, B, and C. This is your A, B, and C, or mine after I do my handicapping. The blues where the winners were. Down here in this grid, the blues where the winners were. Now usually this race picture is pretty well blue. There's 4 of them that are not today, and that's a little bit concerning. Of course, she had a second time swell. That was the one that was in here. So usually it does a little bit better job. I usually have a little better day. Keeneland's been a little crazy this meet. Morning line fair odds, it does the same thing. The lighter, so this is the winner. The lighter, the darker the blue, the better the finish. So this is first, second, third, fourth. Right? First, second, third, fourth. So you kind of just see in the rankings where the winners were, what grouping they were proposed to be used in, and whatnot. Trip notes. Once you printed this, it actually would only show you the ones that had printed trip notes on today's card. I had not printed this one. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you'll be spending most of your time handicapping. It also will show you first, second, third, and fourth. First time starters. Now these, once you print them off, the ones that are scratched will actually not be showing up. So you don't have to worry about looking at that kind of ugliness. But you see where the winners, second, third, fourth are by the same shading rules. Stakes winners. There's only one stakes race. You have a first, second, third, and fourth. If we had a winner on my tickets, which we did not have a multi-race sequence where we had all the winners, it also would be a dark blue. So that's kind of nice to see. The one thing I wanted to point out to you though is in this 10-race trend, the highlighted horse, so this 9 horse here, this was the winner. The 7 horse here was the winner. The 11 horse, I think, the gray here was the winner. So whatever's highlighted as the winner, it gives you an opportunity to look and kind of learn what types of trends win the races. You know, you're going to see very few that really had a couple of really bad races. I mean, this horse was kind of tailing off. This horse only had 1 bad race. This horse was kind of tailing off, but maybe had an opportunity to jump up. So, you know, it gives you an opportunity to come back and study. It'll point it out to you exactly what they had going for them. And that is it for this tutorial. All right, thanks.